Okay, so in this video we're gonna download Docker on Windows, and yeah, let's just start it. So go to the docker.com, download Docker desktop for Windows, and where is it? This one. So lately, like, Docker's kinda, popular anyway, and you know what, you need to learn it so it's easy to deploy and so on. So that, and we need to wait, install exe. So I'm not big fan of Docker anyway, so like for me, I think Prosmax is the best one. So but I don't have the machine to do the visualization of on your server using Prosmax because it's so expensive. So buying like cheap computer and turn it to server, I think that's the easiest one to deploy your website using Nginx or Apache. I'm not gonna install Docker on very cheap. Even Raspberry Pi, I'm not recommend using Docker, even it's so lightweight. They say, no. So basically, most of the cheap computer like 4 GB, if you're lucky to get at least 16 or 8, your that old PC is good to go anyway, and like that. That's how easy you're gonna install it anyway on Windows. But for like on Ubuntu server, because you're gonna install it anyway no matter what on low end computer, but I'm not gonna like install everything on, I don't know, that's my actual preference anyway. So basically the entire website running on WordPress, that's gonna blow your mind. You don't need a Docker to run a WordPress because it's gonna work no matter what. Even PHP, you don't need like any kind of middleman or another step to install those, because those things gonna work no matter what. And yeah, so I don't think like you're gonna use like, I'm not saying Node.js because I hate Node.js if you ask me, because there's so many like something to do. I think the easiest way to deploy is, I'm not gonna say PHP still here. I think it's not gonna go away even in 10 years or 20 years or 30 years from now. It's not gonna go away, and because it's the easiest one to deploy is Nginx and Apache on Ubuntu server anyway, and Laravel and WordPress are still the one. I'm still gonna pick WordPress if you're like on your client. I'm not gonna go fancy and deploy some BS like Node.js or something like that for a static website. Nah, not gonna happen. I'm gonna pick still WordPress for my absolute website. I'm gonna still stick WordPress, and yeah, so I'm testing my Plus. I'm saying on Python on Plus API. So most of my server is running on Ubuntu, so I need to use the Docker in order to deploy things. Like I'm told, you can do it without Docker anyway, because if you can buy like cheap like desktop, so you can turn it to server, if you, you, can, 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 easily customize and increase the RAM of that, and that's home labbing anyway. So if you like gonna do home labbing, you're gonna cross on Docker no matter what. And yeah, so I'm not gonna do server on Windows, like server like 20 or something like that, because if you think about it, Ubuntu server is the best server you can have anyway. And I'm not talking Ubuntu server or something like that. I mean Ubuntu without GUI. It's all black screen like this. So this is my one of my tests. I have a test site 1 and 2 and 3 on before I deploy on my production site. Even if they mess up this, I can reinstall it anyway, and so on. So some people like they do practice programming on Windows and Mac. I think Mac's the best one, and I understand that it's so expensive to have Mac anyway. So I have Mac, so Mac Pro, Mac Pro, I guess I forgot 2002, and I never boot that thing for like 2 years. I'm still on Windows and Windows 10, man. And yeah, so I'm gonna clean my home lab because it's so messy, man. There's so many cables running. So I'm gonna go to the next level on IPv6 with 10 GPS, something like that, and OpenSense. So I'm gonna go away on TP-Link. I'm gonna build my own router using OpenSense with, I'm gonna install like 10 GB. So I'm gonna install 1 gig LAN because there's only one port on old computer, so we're gonna turn that in 1 gig or something like that. So and yeah, so we need Docker on that if we're gonna install OpenSense, if I'm correct. So I'm gonna it will gonna take me like 2 weeks to fully understand like OpenSense and then firewall and so on. So I'm still using the TP-Link anyway, but on IPv6 you don't need like port forwarding or something like that. That's what I hear. So I need to check that immediately. The IPv4 is still good, and I'm gonna install it in my office like IPv6